Distinguished guests, dear friends, I'm delighted to join you through this message to celebrate the launch of the Uganda Violence Against Children survey. I'm deeply encouraged by the determination of the government of Uganda to address violence against children by conducting this comprehensive national survey. I'm equally impressed by the commitment of the government and its partners to ensure that the findings from the survey are used to inform actions to prevent and respond all forms of violence against girls and boys. The richness and wealth of the data will no doubt help strengthen the national child protection system to ensure the care and protection of all children from violence by 2030 as required by the Sustainable Development Agenda. My sincere congratulations in particular to the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, to UNICEF and Together for Girls partners, as well as to the AfriChild Centre for Excellence, the Makerere University School of Public Health, and TPO Uganda. And of course, all those involved in making this a launch to remember. Dear friends, violence is a global issue that undermines children's rights and affects boys and girls in all countries. It knows no cultural, economic, gender, or geographic borders. Violence against children jeopardizes their chance to develop to their full potential, and this in turn erodes the very foundation of cohesive societies, threatening future sustainable and inclusive socio-economic growth. Most girls and boys who are exposed to violence live in loneliness and fear and are often left behind when it comes to receiving care and support to overcome their trauma. Many children simply do not know where to turn for help or are unable to do so due to their age, especially when the perpetrator is a family member or anyone else responsible for their protection and well-being. We now know from other violence against children surveys that more than 25% of girls and more than 10% of boys reported experiencing childhood sexual violence, but few of these child victims sought services, and not all who sought help received it. In fact, in most of these countries, the proportion of victims who received any help, including health and child protective services, was less than 10%. Leaving the vast majority of children unsupported. But global evidence also shows us that violence against children is not inevitable and it is preventable. It can be effectively addressed at the national level through strategic interventions that begin with a comprehensive assessment of the situation through sound research. The Uganda survey is therefore an excellent example of how data and evidence can help break the silence surrounding violence and break down barriers that prevent victims from speaking up and claiming their right to services and to justice. It is very encouraging to see that the findings are helping to place this concern at the center of public debate in Uganda, including through national TV and regional dialogues across the country. I know the leadership in all governmental departments is committed to taking action to address the survey findings and ensure that the necessary technical, financial and human resources, both from the government and from development partners, are made available for its full and effective implementation. The country's actions to address violence against children are a powerful illustration of how the government is delivering on its international commitments to tackle violence against children in line with the Convention on the Rights of the Child, the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. By conducting this survey and developing the response plan, the government has a rich set of baseline data which can be used to monitor progress. I hope the excellent experience of Uganda will be shared with other countries, and I therefore would like to encourage the government to consider highlighting these national developments in its reporting on progress on the SDGs. As you know, in 2019, the High-Level Political Forum in New York will, for the first time, specifically review Goal 16, including Target 16.2, to end all forms of violence against children. The government of Uganda can point with pride to the Violence Against Children survey and its follow-up response as powerful illustrations of its commitment to implement the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. What better way to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the Convention on the Rights of the Child in 2019 by putting children's protection from violence at the center of the national policy agenda and shared at a global level for all nations to hear. Dear friends, I know you will have a rich discussion today to identify the critical next steps that must be taken to ensure the data is transformed into meaningful action at all levels. I want to encourage you to pursue this task with determination and ambition. Please know that my office is here to support in the important steps ahead to ensure that all children in Uganda grow up in a safe, peaceful, and nurturing environment. Many thanks for your attention.